You know, for decades now, Star Wars has been way more than just a bunch of movies. It's a modern myth, right? But have you ever stopped to think about how it actually got that legendary status? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to look at the foundational storytelling DNA of Star Wars, and then we'll see how that exact same code is fueling its most ambitious new era yet.
So, what is that secret ingredient? I mean, beyond the awesome lightsabers and the starships, is it the X-Wings, the sound a lightsaber makes, the epic space battles? Yeah, all that stuff is iconic for sure. But the real power of Star Wars, the thing that makes it stick with us, comes from something way deeper and much, much older. It's the secret recipe for telling a great story, one that we've been hooked on for thousands of years.
All right, so let's talk about the hero's timeless journey, the blueprint of myth. And that blueprint, well, it's called the hero's journey. It's this universal pattern, this kind of storytelling backbone that you see in not just Star Wars, but in countless myths and legends from all over the world. And George Lucas, he was a huge fan of this idea. He basically baked it right into the DNA of the entire saga.
So the official kind of academic term for this whole thing is the monomyth. It's a concept that was really brought to light by this scholar, Joseph Campbell. And what he figured out was that all these epic stories, it didn't matter where they came from, they all kind of followed the same basic structure. You've got a hero who gets called to go on an adventure, they face all these trials in some strange new world, and then they come back home totally transformed. Sound familiar?
And if you look at how it's laid out, you'll see it's not a straight line, right? It's a circle. It's a cycle. The hero starts in their normal, everyday world, then they cross over into this special, unknown place, and eventually they come back. And this whole cycle is broken down into three main parts, or acts: departure, initiation, and return.
And of course, Luke Skywalker's journey is the absolute perfect example of this. So, step 1, departure. This is where the simple farm boy's life gets turned upside down after his family is killed and he's thrown into this huge galactic war. Then comes step 2, initiation. This is where he faces test after test. I mean, think about it, from the trash compactor to training with Yoda to that epic duel with his own father. This is where he grows up. And finally, step 3, return. He comes back, but he's not a farm boy anymore. He's a full-fledged Jedi Knight, ready to redeem his father and, bring balance to the Force.
And here's the really important part. The whole journey isn't just about, fighting monsters and blowing up Death Stars. As Joseph Campbell himself put it, the hero is the one who comes to know. It's all about growth, it's about discovery, and it's about transformation. That's what's at the heart of the myth.
Okay, so that classic structure totally defined the original trilogy, right? But the big question now is, how does this ancient pattern fuel the future of Star Wars? So let's dive in and see how they're using this blueprint to build the next big chapter of the saga. A New Republic dawns, the next chapter. So say hello to the High Republic. This is a totally brand new, uncharted era in the Star Wars timeline. And let me tell you, this is where the storytelling is getting really ambitious. So to put this in perspective for you, we're talking about 200 years. And that's 200 years before we even get to the Phantom Menace. So this is the galaxy way, way before the Skywalkers ever showed up. This is a time when the Republic and the Jedi Order were at the absolute height of their power, their golden age. Now, the High Republic isn't just like one book or a single movie. It's this massive coordinated project. We're talking books, comics, all sorts of media, all telling one big connected story. And what's cool is that events in one book will actually ripple out and affect what's happening in the comics. And while it's set during this so-called golden age for the Jedi, what these stories start to show us is that even the brightest light casts a very long shadow. All right, Section 3, Navigating the New Frontier, a story-focused guide. So you might be thinking, with all this content, where do you even start? It sounds kind of overwhelming, right? Well, the key is to stop thinking of it as a reading list and instead see it as one epic unfolding story. Let's take a look at how the creators of this whole era are guiding us through it.
Okay, so the whole thing is structured in what they call phases, and you can basically think of them like chapters in a giant epic, or maybe even like a trilogy of movies. Each phase tells a big, complete chunk of the larger story. It's got its own beginning, middle, and end, and it's all designed to guide you through these massive, interconnected events.
So let's look at Phase 1, Light of the Jedi. And man, does it kick off with a bang. It starts with something called the Great Disaster, this insane catastrophe in hyperspace that tears a ship apart and basically puts the entire galaxy on high alert. That crisis leads into the next big event, the Republic Fair. This is supposed to be this huge, grand showcase of unity, but it turns into a total nightmare when this new group of villains, the Nihil, launch a devastating attack, and it all builds to this incredible climax, the fall of Starlight Beacon. The Republic's greatest symbol of hope becomes the Nihil's ultimate target in an attempt to just snuff out the light of the Jedi. It is such a dramatic, high-stakes story.
And the stakes are set right from the get-go. The very first book synopsis lays it out. When a shocking catastrophe in hyperspace tears the ship to pieces, the flurry of shrapnel emerging from the disaster threatens entire systems. So you see, this isn't just some simple adventure. This is about the Jedi facing a threat that could literally unravel the entire Republic.
All right, Section 4. The journey continues. Old myths, new heroes. So this brings us back to our big question. How does this huge, sprawling new saga connect back to that ancient blueprint we were talking about? How does that myth continue with these new heroes?
Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. Think about it. Luke's story was the classic hero's journey, focused on one single guy. The High Republic takes that exact same blueprint and applies it to an entire generation of heroes. We see the journey play out across a whole ensemble of new characters. You have Jedi like Avar Kriss, the shining example of the Order who has to face the real cost of her beliefs, or young Padawan like Bel Zettifar, who's dealing with loss and doubt. Every one of them gets their own call to adventure, faces their own unique trials, and goes through their own incredible transformation.
And that, right there, is the secret. That's the secret recipe. It's why Star Wars lasts. It's always reinventing itself, right? It gives us new heroes, new worlds, new villains, but it builds everything on top of that timeless, mythic foundation of the hero's journey. It's a formula that feels familiar, but at the same time, it's endlessly adaptable.
And that just leaves us with one last question to chew on. The original hero we all fell in love with was a farm boy who just dreamed of the stars. This new era gives us an entire order of Jedi at the height of their power. So as the Star Wars galaxy keeps getting bigger and bigger, what new kinds of heroes are going to step up and answer the call next?